Hey everybody, Kevin Vistison here, host of the Deer Hunter podcast, and we really haven't used our YouTube platform. We've been putting our podcast out for almost a decade now and never really produced much content for this platform, and we're going to try to change that moving forward and have some deer hunts from some of our friends and some other things that we filmed over the years getting put here. So introduce you to my friend Nick Polano. He had a great deer hunt last year. We're going to be featuring it as one of our first things here moving forward. But if you're not subscribed to the channel, please do. We're going to, like I said, try to be a little bit more regular here and getting some good deer hunting, bow hunting, deer camp, outdoor content, hopefully for many years to come. So we just are walking out from a morning hunt. We had we're at deer camp right now. Couldn't be better. We just jumped a deer up. We've seen a couple bucks, some chasing does. I'm excited about deer season, and this should get all of you a little bit more. That's what we're anticipating. Good luck in the tree stand, or in the saddle, or in the ground blind, whatever you choose here for this deer hunting season. Big buck, spike, doe, all running around. Hey everybody, I'm gonna give a quick update. It's towards the end of bow season here before a gun in Michigan. I'm up in the stand in the hardwoods of my property. I brought Brett with me again, a good buddy of mine, and he's on another side of the property. He's seen this buck that we call Fast Eddie, pushing around a doe. This is a buck that got away from me last year, survived, and he turned into a nicer buck this year. So far, I've seen a spike. Actually, I rattled. As soon as I started rattling, a spike popped up on the other side of those hardwoods. And following him was a doe. And she took off south, which is away from me. And then following her came a real big buck and followed her down south farther. The spike actually came my way, which is kind of funny. Brett said he could hear me rattling, and he had a 6-point on a doe while I was rattling, and he peeled off the doe, and that 6-point actually just showed up about 30 minutes later. He just came in right underneath me. Nice looking 1-year-old. I think I'm in a good area, but not the right spot, so this stand I'm probably gonna pull. As soon as it calms down in here, I think I'm gonna pull this stand. I'll probably head south a little ways. I think that buck originally had the doe bedded down. And I seem to see a lot of deer bedded down over there. Not that I'm going into a bedding area, just kind of in between in a travel area. So I'm gonna go ahead and probably pull this set here and probably head south. The wind's all over the map today, so really trying to play it safe. Nothing's really patternable. It's the rut, so I think just playing it safe on the wind. These deer are going to push each other all over the woods. So,
do you drink beers in a garage? That's exactly why the garage bar was invented. Unfolds in seconds, ready to go. Pull your wood out and enjoy a cold one.
All right, it's the afternoon hunt. Had quite a bit of good action this morning. Saw one shooter or close to shooter. It's quite a ways away, so it's hard to tell, but it's a nice deer. I am going to be pulling a set and moving a couple hundred yards. I think I'm gonna get in between two bedding areas that I just see so many does at. And where this morning I saw a buck on a doe. So it's gonna be a little bit warm.
toasty getting this done, but it's gonna drop back down to the 30-degree range, so I'll have to layer back up. But for now, I'm rocking lightweight clothes. I'll see you in the stand. All right, it is 3 o'clock. I'm in the stand. Took me a little longer than I wanted to get set up, but I think it was worth it. I got a little bit warm, so I just stripped down the layers, but I just piled them back on. Minimize the sweating. I'm sitting with my back is against it's a cedar and hemlock swamp. I'm on one bench of a 4-tier step. I'm on number 2. This terrain that goes around this hill, basically in the hardwoods. I'm basically on the second bench here, up out of the swamp. I can see up and into the other benches. But this appears to be more of a runway style bench spot. And the deer often are bedding in the swamp behind me, as well as in the timber in front of me. I do have a south wind, which for me is a crosswind. I do not expect majority of my movement to come from the downwind side, but in the stand it could happen. So there's fresh rubs in here. I'm staring at one and I think it's dripping. I think it's from the last 24 hours. I think I'm gonna leave my stuff up here and hunt it in the morning as well. Hey everybody, it's a little bit after 8 o'clock in the morning. It's November 12th. I'm sitting in the sand. I hung yesterday afternoon. It's pretty brisk. It's about 30 degrees this morning. Everything had ice on it this morning and frost. I got a little bit warm heading into the stand though. I put too many layers on right away, so I was a little nervous, but actually I see a deer running. Put the phone down. All right, it's been an exciting morning. Just checking in. My last check-in, I stopped the video. I saw a couple deer moving. Ended up being 2 does going south to north, parallel to me. I was hoping they wouldn't end up crossing where they'd catch my wind eventually up to the north, and they never did. Shortly after that, I had a spike come in, right underneath my stand, and he ended up going into this hillside in front of me. A little while later, I heard an eruption in the woods, and 2 does come flying down the hill in front of me, right into about 15 yards, and they're panting, and I could hear grunting coming from where they were. And inside of this thicket in front of me, I saw 2 different deer moving all over the place, and that spike who never really left. They were all just like mixing and mingling in there. And finally I grunted and the deer stopped. What I assumed was the bigger buck. Stopped. And he was interested but didn't move. So then I threw snort wheeze at him. And he flew out of there. He came directly to me. I'm trying to film this all. I got some footage. He came right to me about 35 yards in front of me. Then, when he couldn't see the buck that snort wheezed or myself, he went south and he went around like between 20 and 35 yards, different areas, just back and forth, searching to the south with his nose up in the air, just checking me. Somehow he didn't wind me. But the does that were hot that he was chasing are way farther south, which is now upwind, so I don't know if he was getting their scent too. And it was covering me. Looks like he has a broken main beam. He's a really, really nice buck. I'm surprised I didn't pick my bow up, but I'm trying really hard to get to that next age class right now. And he was definitely not a 4-year-old, so he's got a ton of potential. If he survives, he might be something real special. I think he's 3, but he was wide, tall. He had light mass, which is probably why I broke his main beam, but he's clearly a fighter. Long story short, he ends up coming back to where he came from for me when he came out of the thicket, and then chased off another small buck that was coming out of the thicket, and they all went towards where the does ended up running to. So while all this was happening, those does took off to the south. So ended up being 2 does, 2 bucks went south. The spike's still out here. I thought he left a hot doe, but it turned out it was a spike. And I was really excited because before I figured out that what I thought was a hot doe was a spike, I had another buck, a really nice looking 2-year-old, come in. He broke his main beam off near his brow tine on one side and doesn't have any points on his other side. He's just destroyed. He came in from where the other buck ran to, and he made contact with the tree that I'm in and stopped at like 3 or 4 yards from the base of my stand. I took cell phone video of him. I didn't have time to get this. He then mingled on up to where that spike was. Just an absolute crazy last 30 minutes. All this happened when I was trying to fix a strap on my thermos, which had broken and it's making it hard for me to handle up here. I was gonna get myself a cup of coffee, but I think I'm gonna wait a little bit longer. The wind is out of the south and it's pretty consistent. I don't have much movement to the north of me right now, or really at all today, so I think it's safe if I give myself a cup of coffee here. Everything seems to be to the south, which is upwind. So stay tuned. Hopefully I have another exciting update. Finally getting to enjoy that cup of coffee. I'm thinking about that buck I passed on earlier today. I can confidently say I passed on it. It's one of probably the biggest buck I had an opportunity at that I chose not to lift a bow for. But I guess that's how I get to the next level. Someone recently told me to shoot a monster, you gotta let a big one go. Anyway, I think he's a little bit bigger than the buck I shot on October 7th. The buck I shot on October 7th was a 3-year-old short brow tine 8-point, who I passed on last year, who was a nice looking 2-year-old last year. I think this buck was a bit wider, equally as tall, similar mass, but broken main beam. And his right side, I think after G3, I believe was broken off. I'll have to look at the footage, but anyway, the buck I shot on October 7th is what's keeping me in the stand right now. Brett, my friend Brett, who's hunting with me, he's on the other side of my property right now. Him and I are on an all-protein diet because when we pack our food for a hunting trip, I guess all we're thinking is fluids and meat. So we brought a few pounds of that buck with us. And last night we seared up some sirloin steaks from that buck. It was phenomenal. I think I was watching a Meat Eater episode or something like that recently, and they had taken a steak cut from a fresh deer, and what they did is they cooked up a pound of grease, or a pound of bacon, left the grease in the pan, high heat, seared each side 90 seconds. So we did that last night. It was phenomenal. It was definitely keeping me going today. I didn't bring a lunch with me. Kind of thought I'd get down midday, but after all this action, I might stick it out up here.
We have become conscious that we will never decrease efforts towards attempting to be better. We understand that if we aren't growing, we are dying. We simply refuse to accept status quo. We will continue to gain education through experience, and when we kill that buck of a lifetime, there will have been nothing accidental about it. Be surgical.
Psst. November 12th, it's hot today. Not temperature-wise either. The does are hot. So, hope you're in the woods. Cheers.